All right, we're back right from here, from the Philistine city, the bed mill in the ancient Philistine city, okay? And we will continue answering our Muslim friends' claims, making the next part of our apology to them, defending our faith, and rebutting all the false misconceptions and claims respectfully, and exposing, like they do, exposing the heretics, those dog logics of the world, who are humiliated and decimated. And recently, by you, a girl, Korra, that dog logic ran away from your debate again, once again. Very surprising. And all the way through was shouting, panicking. He was afraid to answer a simple question that you made to him. Why and I'll answer it right away. According to the saints, who are the sole authority to interpret the scriptures, I will answer straight from their teaching. Is very simple. Okay? You told him, how come Saint Paulus took the Nazarene vow, which includes in it a sin offering. In Hebrew, it is Korban Hatath. Okay? Sin offering. Okay? Sacrifice also. So, not only sacrifice, offering also, and there is another word in English, because it doesn't mean just the word Korban. It means, it's from the root word Qarab, which means being close, making you closer to God. Okay, so it's not just blood sacrifice and so on. It's more general. It is giving something to God to make us closer to God, not that God needs it. As we say in our daily prayers, our daily Orthodox prayers, we recite the Psalms of David, which says that God says, don't think that I need your blood sacrifice, the animals. I don't drink the blood of animals. I don't need those physical things. Those things God gave the Israelites to help them being closer to Him, and by works it helps them to be closer to God, to do those physical things, to feel that they're really doing things, to God. He doesn't need Him. God doesn't need anything. Now, so they teach about it, the saints, that the offering in the Nazarene vow, it is the old form, but the apostles and Saint Paulus took it because in their time, already after Christos already made the final sacrifice, those were only practices that the sin offering turned into thanks offering, turned into a gesture, not essential for salvation, not in a legal status, but from the apostles' own will. They gave thanks offering and do those things to honor the fathers, to honor the old law, because in their time the temple was still existed. So the practices still existed, but they were symbolic by then. That's what the saints teach. Like St. Augustinus, St. Chrysostom, again and again, those names, because they are one of the main fathers who dealt exactly with all those apparent problems or contradictions that you Muslim claims long ago they were explained. So there are two angles, two aspects of the reason for the Mosaic practices, all of them, that is, were still continued, like circumcision, animal sacrifice, and so on, because the fathers, the church fathers, our saints, blessed be their name, the period between Christ's ultimate sacrifice, the passion, the ascension, and until the final destruction of the temple in Jerusalem in 70 AD. That period was the transition period from Judaism, from a tribal, a tribal ethnic faith, became the universal Judaism, which is Christianity, which is the followers of the Son of God and the Holy Trinity after the coming. So this was a transition period from being a tribal to only Israelites, the Judeans, that is in that time, and the old Gentiles coming in under the Abrahamic covenant, okay, and the Davidic promise, okay. So this is the context. This is why the practices, in one aspect, were still ongoing in that time, and the other, like Saint Hieronymus teaches, that it was what we call an oikonomia in Greek, which is how do you say that in English? I think accommodation, something like that, which means that in order to save the peace of the whole congregation, which had still Jews who refused to, at all times, refused to bring about the New Testament, and still thought that all the Mosaic laws were all as the same as before. Still, all the practices were for salvation, and didn't want to make that transition, and they were influencing other Christians at the time, Jewish converts. So, in order to keep the peace, they maintained all the practices in that time also because of it. Okay? This is it. So this is the context. The saints already talked about it, but of course, the pathetic clown grifter, modalist heretic who believes in a triune God with three personalities, three faces. God forbid, this is modalism. Anyway, the clown, the coward, Dog Logic and his ilk. Dog Logic ran away because he couldn't answer this simple question, because he doesn't know the teachings of the saints, and also he could have easily also searched about it and Google it long before. But why doesn't he care? Because he thinks he has to prove everything from scriptures without the sacred infallible tradition under the Spirit by the teachings of the saints, because he doesn't believe, like the rest of them in the West, those grifters, that our saints are infallible. So they have no leg to stand upon against Muslims in debate. They're finished, done, barbecued. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that, Muslim brothers. There will always be defeated and humiliated, because they refuse to acknowledge it. When I talk to them, most of them, 99.9% of them in the West, they're fanboys. They always laugh at even thinking such a thing, that the saints are writing infallibly in the Spirit. Well, Saint Gregorius Palamas, our saint, okay? He himself said, as I said before, in a letter to a bishop, he said, only simple-minded people, ignorance meaning, would think that the church fathers ever erred or contradicted themselves on on doctrines and dogma. Okay? Meaning theological issues, all those things that they write about. So, the Westerners are innovators. They don't follow the tradition of the saints. They don't believe that our church fathers and our saints are heirs of the apostles with the Spirit passed down to them. They think they are speculators, each of his own school, like in other traditions. No, that's not what we believe in. Those who follow the Russian Church, meaning the Orthodoxy. Okay? So this is one point. Now I want to address Libiano. Now Libiano, you made yesterday bold claims. You again, although you yourself, for example, always argue with philosophy, with rules of logic by pagan Greeks, you claim that Christianity is the one who incorporated pagan Greek philosophy into it, which is a nonsense because all the church fathers systematically condemned it and wrote entire works dismantling each Greek school, including all Platonist ideologies, never mind what kind. First state Middle Platonism it's innovations. It always was called Platonism. That these terms were coined only by modern scholars. Anyway, it's not the point. The point is that Platonism is what you believe actually, Libiano, because you say that you believe that God is spatial. You said it to Dr. Andani, that God is spatial and stuff like that, that it is not outside of space, okay? Now, if you say such a thing, that means your God is contingent, and I'm sure other Muslims don't agree with you, because Muslims say that everything that is like creation, Allah is exactly the opposite, unlike creation, okay? So if you say he's spatial, you likened him to created things. No. So you claim that it's pagan Greek philosophy that said that we say that God is outside space and time. Okay? You said it's pagan Greek philosophy. No. It's nothing to do with pagan Greek philosophy. Yes, there was Aristotle, the pagan, who claimed that, but his God, because he said he's outside space and time, he made him a cold monad who is just like a cause, just like a Big Bang, who is not involved in creation. That's not what we believe in a God like that, okay? That pagan monad, who is like projector, just happens with no distinct attributes, who doesn't really love you, and so on and so on, okay? That's not what we believe. We believe in a loving God who is involved in creation. That's exactly why he sent his Son, because he's outside of creation in space and time. So his Son, his consubstantial Son, his Logos, is the link between us and creation, to unite it to him. Sorry, this way. Okay? So this is one thing. And also, both Platonism and Aristotelianism, always Aristotle and Plato contradicted one another, because their gods were pantheist polytheists, like they worship Minerva, they worship called the stars gods. So they always, their gods always were a created thing. They said there is one God outside of space and time, and he emanates many gods in a hierarchy, and the stars are gods, and all God, and everything is God. And even humans, and they're called their emperors gods too. Okay? So, no, that's not what we believe. Now, you attacked and claimed that the Middle Platonism is what Johannes, the blessed apostle, who did write the Gospel of Johannes, nothing you can do about it since we believe the saints are infallible, and they said it. And the saints, we don't care about what modern scholars say, because the saints are the closest in time to the time of Christos and the apostles than anyone else who wrote, okay? So, who writes all that nonsense, okay? So, the Gospel of Johannes, you, without even noticing, Libiano, you actually prove that the Gospel of Johannes preaches consubstantiality, because you say, and preaches the correct Nicaean creed, the Nicaean statement of our creed, and not modalism, which is what you think it is, because you don't understand the writing of the saints, and the Westerners, the heretics you debate with, they tell you that one being in three-person nonsense, because they don't understand what the Father means by being in that context. It doesn't mean one entity split to three. It means only identical in essence, just like humans are, and are not one entity split to many faces, personalities, heads, or whatever, okay? Now, you said that Christos in the Gospel, he is called Theos, but the Father is called Hotheos, meaning the God. Yes, this is exactly what I explained to you, exactly from the Hebrew. Because all three persons of the Trinity are God in the general, meaning divine, of the same essence, but only the Father is the one God, the fundamental source of the divine essence, who beget His Son and generated His Holy Spirit. So Hotheos, it is the translation of the original Hebrew, Ha-Elohah. Exactly as in previous episodes, I explained that the Ha-Elohah is what you call Allah. That is the personal title of the Father, the one God. The true God from the one true God is El, the general for God in the Hebrew, okay? Not the God. It doesn't mean He's not consubstantial or true God of the same essence of His Father. It just means specific titles which are indicative of the personal attributes, distinct attributes of each person, but not the attributes of the general divinity. Okay? So this is what it means. And you also, ridiculously, I am surprised of you, Libiano, in this case. That's why you dropped the one who argued from the Greek about the Gospel of Johannes, because you couldn't answer him. But you said that because the Gospel of Johannes says in the beginning was the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God, because he says Logos, that it proves Logos theology. Well, not only it is a ridiculous claim to suggest such a thing, because the Hebrew itself, the Old Testament, as I already explained, that the title of the son there is Neum Yovah. Neum is Logos, speech. And your tradition, your Quran also talks about how Kalam Allah, the eternal speech of Allah. Kalam Allah. So what? Kalam is logos. So what? You say that your tradition is also Platonism? So you just, it's not serious again, and really not serious to even engage with such a thing. And the last thing I want to talk about is the issue of begottenness. Okay, how it says it is in English. You said because give birth is an attribute of creatures, not of God. That means that it's blasphemy and so on and so on. No, as I explained before in the previous episodes, it comes from the Hebrew. The Hebrew is not anthropomorphic. The Hebrew is theomorphic, the other way around, which means those terms were originally divine attributes of God, the emanation of His Son, His Kalam, His Logos. By way of loan, it reflects in man, in creation, okay? In a physical way, not in the spiritual original meaning of this world. And the root word, the word for beget, it is yalad, or begotten, yulad, okay? Yulad in the original meaning of the word is being caused, not as distinct from created, nibra or na'asha. Those words are the words external from the divine essence, which God created, external to Him. But begettenness is from His own essence. This is why it is applied to man in the physical way, reflection only, not the actual ontological meaning originally, because giving birth, it's coming from your own essence, from your own body, the birth, the action of being pregnant or giving birth and so on, begetting, it's because it comes from you directly, not created by you as you create a statue. Okay? This is what it means. This is the link between the divine and the human. So you don't understand the theomorphic nature, which belongs only in the Holy Hebrew language, and as Saint Augustinus of Regius Hippo teaches us, it is originally the Adamic language preserved by the line of Abraham, which is the line of Abraham. In his line, it was preserved, the Hebrew, and the rest of the world after the deluge, that Adamic language was corrupted to the many languages afterwards. So with this beautiful point by Saint Augustinus, we will finish this day these current two parts of our apology, answering Korra and our Muslim friends, and we will continue with God's help, inshallah, tomorrow in the same place. God bless you all. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, God bless.